Hey, Diane. Welcome, welcome. Just waiting for Stuart to get on here and we'll get him as the host. All right, Vince is coming on. There's Stuart. Okay. All right, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are.
Okay, let's see. Video. I don't know if I want to use video.
All right, everyone, just bear with us for a minute while we get all situated. We're going to get Stuart as the host so he can share his screen.
Okay.
And then hold on. Then let's see here. I've got to make host. All right, you are now the host.
I'm the host.
You are
the
now
most.
the host.
Okay, let me
Hostess with the mostest.
look at that. Let's just see. Okay, where are the little gizmos that I need to be able to see? All right, I'm not seeing the little thing.
Do you see that share screen? Oh,
Well,
there
I'm
you are.
looking for
Hey,
it. Yeah, I'm looking
there we
for it.
are. I see
Okay.
you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I tell you, the coronavirus thing hasn't been good for me. Put on. I just weighed myself today for the first time, and it told me what I already knew. Man, then I had the knee replaced too, so that really kind of slowed me down. But anyway, let's see if I can get the little things here. Uh, oh wow, raise hand. Oh my gosh, there's all this stuff. Looks like we got a few people are signing on.
Yeah.
But you could should I just put on the webinar thing? I mean
See if you can share your screen. We can keep the cameras on for a minute and then
yeah.
make sure the screen sharing is working.
There we go. Screen sharing. There we
Oh,
go.
there we go. And then zoom. Yeah, dude, there you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
And I want to be able to still see. And then I want to open up the chat. All right, perfect. So looks like everyone is starting to get logged in. Do me a favor. Yeah, let me know if you can actually hear us. I know Stuart and I are just enjoying ourselves over here talking with each other, but we want to make sure that you can actually hear us. So give us a thumbs up or tell us yes. We got an A. Excellent. Thank you coming in. Okay, how's the audio? Audio and videos pretty good. Diane, thanks. Yes, on both. Excellent. Okay, so hey, we've got about 8 minutes before the top of the hour when we need to get started. So welcome. Tell me what you guys are excited to learn about tonight. You guys are on early. So this is like the before the party kind of party. So tell me what you're excited to learn about and tell us where you're connecting in from and the ages of your kids. Merit scholarships. Excellent. Perfect. And as it Ingy, am I pronouncing your name right? Ingy? I don't want to slaughter your name. So let me know if I'm pronouncing that right. Welcome, Beverly, Brenda, Derek, Elizabeth. You guys are all early birds. Welcome, welcome. Diane Schultz says the potential loan forgiveness. Excellent. Ingy's got kids from 10th and 9th grade. And we've got Diane in Minnesota, Elizabeth, South Carolina with a 17 and 18-year-old. Excellent. So you are smack dab in the middle of it there, Elizabeth. Perfect timing for you, right? How many of you have a student going into college this fall? This would be like perfect timing for you guys too. Brenda, scholarships from Chicago, a 12th grader. Excellent. Perfect timing, Brenda. Ingy from Minnesota. Excellent. I wonder how many people will get from California. Anyone in here from California? Because I know it's a little early on the Pacific time zone. some of you on the Eastern time zone are getting ready to go to bed, aren't you? Getting a little late your time. Don't we all wish, right? Atlanta, Mary coming in from Atlanta. Welcome, Mary. Nice to have you. Derek, yes, in the fall. All right, perfect timing for you, Derek. We've got kids starting in the fall, then this is the perfect time to be on here. Pocono, the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania. Welcome, Thomas.
That's Birch beer country. Love Birch beer. I'm about ready to buy 24 bottles for $48 off Amazon.
Oh, I love it.
Love Birch beer. It's non-alcoholic. I just want you to know that.
Hey, we don't judge. All right, judge-free zone here. All right, Mary, sophomore in college and sophomore in high school. Yeah, you've got the spectrum there. Good. I've got 5 kids ranging from college all the way down to preschool. Actually, he just graduated preschool. So, all right, upcoming senior from New York. Welcome, Beverly. Hey, Beverly. Nice to see you on here. How's it going out there in New York? Nice to have you. All right, and you need to know if AP classes worth the effort and can all be counted by saving money and time. Excellent. Good. Yeah, let me know. For those of you who are just joining us, we're just kind of shooting the breeze for a minute while we wait for everyone to get logged in. We've got about 5 minutes before the top of the hour, before the webinar is scheduled to start. So if you're just joining us, we're just playing in the chat here. And I want to find out what you're the most excited about learning tonight. We've got the guru of all gurus with us to talk about student loans, student parent loans, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so we're excited to learn all about student loans, but we've also got, a guru with financial aid and everything else. So we're excited to have you on. And the beauty of being live is that you get to ask questions. So thanks for joining us. I know some people will be watching this as a recording, and I'm sorry that you're not here for the party, but you'll be able to watch the recording, assuming technology works and the recording works. But then we also want to know, for those of you who are joining us, we want to know where you're from and what the ages of your students are and what you're the most excited to learn about tonight. So thanks for joining us.
I think people they're excited about how do I pay for college and not have to pay for college?
Yeah, exactly. All right, no pressure, Stuart, but the expectations are a little high.
Well, look, there's no magic to this. I'm just going to preface that right now. There's no magic. It's all, people just, what it is, it's connecting the dots. Yeah. And it's seeing what's in the loan documents and what's in the rules. And here's the thing, this stuff is pretty complicated, and I've tried my best to make this as understandable in a presentation like this as possible. It's a challenge. I think I've done it in a few case studies when I actually go through the parent loan strategies. I'm not going to discuss the student strategies because they're just going in right now, and they should just borrow, the direct loans, no problem. But it's the parents who, have multiple children to educate. And, I often talk about this, Lance, with my own clients at the College Family Care Center. I just don't think it's, parents need to know that it's not their fault. The college costs have doubled in the past 9 years. I had my last one graduate in 2013 when she started, and the education's no better now than it was then. And I just feel like it's not truly a conspiracy. It's not, but I mean, it makes you wonder, if the colleges keep raising their prices because they put it to parents, like, if you don't get a degree for your student, if you don't pony up the bread for this, that they're going to be a failure in life, and they've just manipulated people's expectations and emotions over the years. So whatever parents can do to sort of level the playing field, and take advantage of what exists. And, as I'm going to say in my opening remarks when we actually start, I don't encourage people to take on debt, but how do you educate your kids these days without doing that? So as long as you have some sort of a plan, so
No,
I'm a bit of a renegade in a way, I think. In that way.
Hey, well,
I don't look like it, but
oh, I love it. I love it. Well, if anybody's been following me for very long, you know that I love to think outside the box. And so that's what we're here for. Sometimes it's just thinking about things that you just normally don't think about, right? So thank you for that. Now we're getting closer to start time. We got about 1 minute until showtime. So it looks like everyone is getting logged in okay. The attendee count is climbing as we speak. So for those of you who are just joining us, we've been on here partying for about 10 minutes without you. So you missed out on you missed out on the pre-party. The pre-party, but we're just using the chat. We're using the chat box to share where you're from, the ages of your kids, because we want to get a good idea of what the group is tonight. What kind of group do we have? What ages are joining us, or what ages of your students, and then where you're joining us from, because it's always hard to pick a time that works for everyone from the Pacific time zone to the Eastern time zone. So let us know where you're coming in from. Also, let us know what you're the most excited to learn about, because one of the benefits of being on here live is that you're going to be able to, obviously ask questions and benefit as far as that goes. We're going to probably go for about an hour, wouldn't you say, Stuart?
yeah.
So we'll go for about an hour, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So feel free to ask your questions during the presentation, but don't expect Stuart to answer your questions during the presentation, because us as guys tend to be really bad at multitasking. So
Well, it's actually, answering a specific question to somebody, especially on the recording side, people want to get the information and their specific question, they'll get that, if we can answer it, we will at the end. So we just keep going. There's a lot to go through, and I want to plow through it and get to the meat and spend the time there. And then, with what time remains.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like everyone's joining us. It is the top of the hour. Thanks for joining us again. We are using the chat box to share where you're from, the ages of your kids, and what you're the most excited to learn about tonight. We've got Stuart on with us as our financial aid guru and our college loan guru, so we're excited to learn from him. Welcome, Amy from Pennsylvania. You've got a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, Christinelle, I hope I said that right. Christinelle from Illinois, incoming high school junior this fall. So you're learning this information at the perfect time. I'm from McKinney, Texas. I will have a sophomore in college and a sophomore in high school next year. Leslie, thanks Leslie for joining us. Andrea, 18-year-old, heading into college in August. Do not qualify for aid, so we'll need student loans. Perfect. Jensen from Lower Hudson Valley in New York. We got a son that's 18, Gene Gibbons. Hey, Gene, good to see you on here. 19-year-old from Colorado, going to private in-state university and sophomore, thinking of Parent Plus loans. We've got Carrie from Pennsylvania, an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. We've got Sandra from Buffalo, New York. Kirk, Jackson Cushing is 19, sophomore in college and from Illinois. I hope I said that right. Irma. Hey, Irma, nice to have you. Texas A&M junior. Lisa coming in. Sharon, Paula, excellent. Keep those questions coming in. Put what you're excited to learn about. This is also very helpful for us for future webinars as well. It looks like everyone's coming in. The chat's blowing up, but I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So I wanted to welcome Stuart Siegel to our webinar tonight, and I want to welcome all of you to our webinar. For those of you who are new to my list or new to and haven't been on my list for a while and just learned about this webinar, or maybe one of our clients shared this link with you and you're new to all of us. But so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lance Morgan, and I'm the founder and owner of the College Funding Education Company and the author of the Retirement Scholarship Strategy book. So I primarily focus on these outside the box ways of thinking about paying for college. And so I teach people the new way to pay for college so that you can get all your money back during retirement. That is my focus. You've probably been on one of my webinars if you've been on my list for any length of time. But tonight is a very special night because we have a guest speaker. Stuart Siegel is our guest speaker tonight. has become a fast friend of mine. I have met him just over this last year, and I've just really been super impressed with his expertise and his knowledge about the financial aid process, the college loan process. And what I love the most about Stuart, and he'll have some of his information on here. I'll also read his bio real quick. But what I love the most about Stuart is his outside the box thinking. I love outside the box thinking because I think that when it comes to paying for college, we need all the help we can get. We need to think outside the box, and we need to understand. And it's not just so much about thinking outside the box, but we need to fully understand all of the rules. We need to understand all of the angles and how we can best utilize the resources that are available. But Stuart is the founder of College Tuition Solutions, Inc. and creator of the File College and Info Easy file system for both professionals and parents. It's like TurboTax for parents of college students. He has been in the field of college financial aid for 24 years. One of his areas of expertise is negotiating financial aid awards. Of note, he has been the keynote speaker at many financial aid conferences, including the Pennsylvania Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators, College Advisors Group, the National Institute of Certified College Planners, and the National College Advocacy Group, where he currently is a board member for not-for-profit organizations. He has been quoted in many magazines and newspapers, including USA Today, US News and World Report, and the Christian Science Monitor. Stuart holds the distinction of being one of the few college funding specialists in the country invited to speak on campus to parents on the topic of college funding on campus and meet with parents privately in the financial aid offices. For the past 12 years, he has served as director of college family care for Collegiate Funding Solutions with clients that include the Pentagon, NASA, and Boeing Corporation Federal Credit Unions. The father of 3 children, all of whom graduated college in 4 years, Stuart currently lives with his wife, Sherry, in Boise, Idaho. So without further ado, woohoo! Everyone give a little hand raise. Give a little hand raise for Stuart on your chat there, and we will turn the time over to Stuart. Woo!
Wow, people are actually raising. Stop that! Stop that!
I love it. I love it.
Very distracting. Okay, let's jump right into it, shall we? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Thanks, Lance, for those kind words that I prepared for you to read on my behalf. Okay. All right. I want to preface this presentation. First of all, they're not encouraging anybody to go into debt, especially incurring debt without a repayment strategy. For many parents, loans are really the only way that you're going to be able to send your kids to college. And in a bit, I'm going to discuss some loan strategies that you shouldn't assume that it's okay for you just to go out and do it by yourself. And if you do have to borrow money for college, there are many, many repayment choices, not just the 3 that most people assume when it comes to the parent loans. Unfortunately, because figuring this stuff out does take some time, you're not going to get the time from colleges and the lenders to help you out, certainly not studentaid.gov. So what I would suggest, if you're really looking at some serious debt here, I would talk to a certified student loan professional before deciding on how you're going to pay all those loans back. It's worth, more than worth the few $100s it would cost. I'm not a certified loan. I'm more than a generalist, but I don't spend hours with people. It's not my area. Financial aid is very complicated. If you filled out a FAFSA, you're probably getting a hint of that. There are other forms, indeed, like the CSS profile, which has been likened to a colonoscopy, financially wise. But the loans are even more complicated when you get into them and you try to figure out how to pay. So some of the slides I'm going to go through, I'm going to just roll through them pretty quickly. That doesn't mean that information isn't useful or important, but I have a lot to cover, and I'll spend the most appropriate amount of time on the slides that matter most. So our agenda, we're going to do some simple calculations to determine how much your student or you're going to have to pay as a result of taking out a student or a parent loan. I think it's a really good exercise to do that. So if you have somebody in the room, go into your kitchen drawers and find your trusty calculator. Bring that out. That's where we keep ours, the kitchen drawer. And it's going to come in really handy because you're going to see there's lots of numbers to look at, and I list them on the slide, so you'll see what I mean, but they're not complicated. It's just simple math. Also, it's important to know, I'm going to do this right. There we go. It's also important to know about a very unique tool that can make your financial aid journey easier and a lot more productive now and in the future. And I'm thinking more about students who are going to be high school seniors this coming fall. Then on to the decision of whether your child should have a credit card or a debit card at college to pay for what are known as indirect costs. These are pizza money, books, personal expenses, things, that they're going to buy while they're away from home. And finally, I just want to share with you some specific strategies by no means an exhaustive list because every family is different and there's so many different repayment options out there. But I want to give you an idea of what's possible, and so that you're paying very little out of pocket to pay for your children's college educations. And these are several little known strategies that do involve loan forgiveness for parents, especially. So financial aid award letters do contain all of these components usually. I mean, if you're lucky to get a merit scholarship or institutional grant, great. But they're always going to have the loans. Just 99.5% are going to have the loans. I saw one from Villanova this year. It was called, I wrote it down, alternative funding opportunities. That's another word for a loan. And it's kind of misleading to say that, but it just means you can borrow more money. And that's just an odd way of putting it. I put it out to my professional group and they just, wow, what won't they come up with next? So first-time freshmen. You get to borrow, as you know, if you're a parent of a high school senior going to college this fall, you've already got the information on the subsidized loans, unsubsidized, $5,500. No more than $3,500 can be subsidized. I'll talk about what that means. And depending on your financial need at that particular school, you may get $3,500 or less in a subsidized loan and more than $2,000 in what's called an unsubsidized loan. So it just depends. There is an exception. Students can borrow more than the first year $5,500 limit if the parents, have bad credit or they're turned down for some reason. They can get an extra $4,000. That's important to know. Okay. Yeah, I think I had that twice. All right. These are the second, third, and fourth year loans. You can borrow a total of $6,500 for the second year, and then for the junior and senior years, no more than $7,500. And they do increase the subsidized portion by $1,000 in the sophomore year and $2,000 in junior and senior years. So that's where you end up with a total of combined debt. If you qualify for if you have enough need, it totals up to $27,000 between the unsubsidized of $8,000, $19,000, subsidized, total of $27,000. Figure at 5%. Your student's looking at $338 per month for 10 years. That's $338, 120 payments. Okay, slide are we on? Okay, one great advantage of the subsidized loan is that even though you can afford, let's say you can afford to pay for college, so you don't need it, it's a good idea to take it because it's free. It's basically free money. There is a 1% origination fee, but it's little enough. And you get to use the money for free. The government's going to be paying the interest rate while your student's in school and for all 4 years and for 6 months after. So it's a pretty good deal. The loan is in the student's name. There's going to be a credit check, but they don't look at actual credit. They just ask for references. Usually it's mom or dad, aunt or uncle or grandparent, and that's it. This year's interest rate, it's still a low rate. Last year was 2.75%. This year it's up a point to 3.734%. This just came out in mid-May. It's still a good rate. It's not expensive at all. Now, unsubsidized loans. We've got the subsidized, and now we've got the unsubsidized. Sometimes they call them Stafford loans. Just depends on the school and how usually they're going to say direct loans. That's a federal loan, so you know it's federal. So the unsubsidized loan, you don't have to qualify for financial need. This is a loan you can get up to $5,500 for a student with no financial need. Again, it's in the student's name. It's guaranteed by the government. You just need one parent, one reference required, and it's got the same fixed interest rate. The one thing about it, though, I do want to make a mention. The government, since they're not paying the interest on it, it doesn't qualify for special programs like deferment. Let's say the student graduates a year or two out, doesn't have a job. The subsidized loan, they can go into deferment and no interest will be charged and it won't accrue. That's the difference between one of the good bad things of these loans. But the subsidized loan, the unsubsidized does have some pretty good advantages. We're going to go over those as well. Okay, you got some popular repayment programs here. The standard, depending on the amount you borrow, you can repay over 10 to 30 years. Obviously, the longer, the more interest you're going to pay. The graduated repayment, you start out with a little, and every 2 years they increase it a bit, goes out to 30 years. And they have this extended one that the maximum is 25 years, and you pay a specific amount over that period. Don't know too many people that actually take that option. Now, here are some other repayment options that do not include the plus loans. There's an asterisk there for a reason. I'll explain that. Even though you're not in the repayment stage yet and won't be for some time, you should be aware that there are currently a total of 8 ways. I just listed 3 to repay student loans. But as I mentioned before, there is a parent loan repayment strategy as well that's not included in this. And if you can or you want, you can prepay the loans at any time, and there's no penalty for doing so. And you can see from the previous slide that the range is between 10 and 30 years to repay, depending on the type of repayment program. Now, these 5, income-based repayment, IBR, income contingent, ICR, income sensitive, pay-as-you-earn, revised pay-as-you-earn, these are all programs that will allow you to pay different amounts and do involve some loan forgiveness. Not for the parents unless you adopt some strategies, which we're going to, of course, talk about. Let's see. Just want to stay on track here. So what are some of the good things about the direct subsidized loans? Well, as I already mentioned, the government's going to be taking care of the interest. And if for some reason, as I said, the student falls on hard times, they're going to be able to get their servicer to forgive that interest, and it won't accrue or be capitalized as long as that situation exists. So that's a good thing. See, that's the problem with unsubsidized loans and you don't pay the interest, that gets capitalized at the end. In other words, they're taking the interest you didn't pay, adding it to the principal balance at the end of the year, and now you're paying. I'll give you an example of that so you can see that. Okay. Then there is forbearance. Now, during a forbearance, you can either pay the interest as it accrues, or you can allow it to accrue and be capitalized, which isn't the greatest thing in the world. But if that's your option, if that's what you need to do, you can do that. And that's a good thing. So you have options, and it doesn't hurt your credit to do that. And you can request a general forbearance if for any number of reasons, like financial difficulties, medical expenses, change in employment, and any other reasons that are acceptable to your loan servicer. Then there's the option, and this is where things get good, especially for parents. You have the option of consolidating all of these loans you might be taking over the years for all of your children into one loan. And a couple of advantages. One, it makes it easier to pay one loan than 8 or 10 because you're going to take one out for each year. If you're borrowing on a plus loan for 4 years, that's 4 loans. If you have 2 children and you're doing the same thing, that's 8 loans. And if you have some of your own, you haven't paid those off, well, then you have those loans. So consolidating them into one can make a lot of sense. There's no fees for doing it, but you can only consolidate, in most cases, one time per loan. But there's an exception, and we're going to get to that. You're just going to want to know all your options. Then there's this program, Public Service Loan Forgiveness. Honestly, it started out to be a great idea, and then it turned into a terrible thing. As it matured a few years ago, all of a sudden people were trying to get their loans discharged, and they found out their servicers had lied to them and misled them and didn't keep up with their paperwork, and they found that they didn't get their loans discharged after the public service jobs they took, and they only took them because they wanted to do good. And now they're working on things. Biden administration's working on it. Trump did a little something with it. Hopefully it's going to continue to improve. There is a servicer who's really more on top of it. Fed loans, they're on top of it versus the other dozen or so. So that is a possibility even for parents. Now, if you have parent loans, it just depends who you work for. Another great thing is not having to deal with a loan if the student, God forbid, or you, the borrower, die or become totally disabled. That's just gone, and there's no taxes due at the end of that, no tax bond. Okay. Now, unsubsidized loans also have some good features as well. Doesn't have the hardship deferral the subsidized loan does, but if there's a problem repaying the loan, there you do have the option of forbearance, and you can request that up to 3 times for each loan for up to a year at a time. So if times get tough, you can put off those loans and not have your credit affected at all, which is nice. Can't do that necessarily with a private loan. I'll talk about those in a few minutes. The bad part about the unsubsidized loan is the government doesn't pay the interest while you're in school. So it's not ugly, but it's not great. Kind of the ugly part is that the interest accrues and capitalizes. As I said, it gets tacked on at the end of the year. So you're paying interest on interest. Not a great thing. We're going to talk about how you can prevent that from happening. So all these loans, student loans, have an origination fee. As you can see, it's 1.062%. So when you take out the full $5,500, that's going to be taken off the loan, paid back to the Treasury, and then the school's going to get $5,440. Usually on the financial aid award letters recently, I shouldn't say usually, but lately they've been adding those student loan fees and tacking them onto your package. Okay. So where are we? Okay, here's the ugly part of all student loans. They can be expensive. They can really make starting out pretty tough when you have a lot of debt. The more you borrow, the less you have for other things. And a lot of students do get into trouble. We have a $1.7 trillion student loan debt owed to this country. Some of that's parent debt, but the majority of it is student debt. Loans mean starting out life with, basically, I'd liken it to, I was driving to California a couple weeks ago, and I was driving mountain roads. I live in Idaho, and I was making my way through Oregon and Nevada. And some of the roads are very windy, single lane, no places to pass. And I'm behind giant trucks. And I just felt like it just slowed me down. And it just made it hard to stay on track. I wanted to make the drive in 8 hours, just made it hard. Same with these student loans. It just makes it hard to get ahead. But if you have the right strategies in place, you can manage that. It's just do it right from the outset. Don't wait until you get into trouble, because sometimes the moves you make, especially with consolidation, you can't redo those. Once it's done, it's over. Paying off loans means putting off other life goals. Very possible that you could delay your life, like buying a car, a house, getting married, having kids, starting a business. It just can make it very difficult. And it's almost impossible to get rid of these things in bankruptcy. The laws changed a number of years ago, and they just made student debt, you can discharge most things in bankruptcy except student loans. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, any bankruptcy attorney will tell you forget it. you have to basically show that you're totally, and now and in the future, going to be incapable of being paying any of the debt, and that your life is not going to get any better with them. So it's tough. And defaulting, of course, just ruins your credit, and not a good thing. Now, there are private loans, and I want to mention these. There are some good things. You'll notice there's 3 things here. This is it. You have higher borrowing limits. So if a student can only get $5,500 for their student loan, well, student could borrow, say, $50,000. The lower rates do exist for if you have really good credit, and if you get into trouble, there's a statute of limitations that they can't go after you after, depending on your state. They usually range from 3 to 6 years. So you can be in a situation where they can't touch you, but they're going to try before they get to those statutes of limitations. Now, here's the bad. The federal loans have these income-driven repayment programs, which is good, and even public service forgiveness. The bad part is that private loans don't have any of that. Their interest rates could go as high as 25%. There's no federal subsidies. You don't get student loan protections like the Fed gives you. And I don't know many students who are 18 years old going to college who who would qualify to borrow $25,000, for example. So they need a cosigner, and that's a great risk to the cosigner, right? So what you're looking at are loans that are less flexible, make it more difficult to have any kind of forbearance options to change your payment programs even. And they don't offer plans. Let's say you're making a lot of money one year, and then the Fed would say, okay, you're going to pay more this year. And then you make less. Well, the government would say, okay, then you pay less. But the banks, they don't care. They're going to want their money. And if your credit starts to fall, they'll just jack up your interest rates. And there is the risk of over borrowing. With parent loans, especially when you go directly to the government, they go to the school, and the school tells you how much you can borrow. And generally, that's the cost of attendance, less any financial aid the students received, and then they'll certify up to that amount. So you can't really overborrow, at least because you can get into trouble that way. You don't want to do that. So if you stop paying back these loans, a lender can bring you to court. They can demand repayment, but they only have a certain amount of time to do so, like I mentioned, 3 to 6 years. But once your loan statute of limitations are up, they can still sue you and they can still chase you for that money. They're not going to let you go. They're not going to let you walk away. It's important to understand the harmful consequences. They can take your disability payments. They can garnish your pay. If you die, they can go after your estate. Even if your parents should pass away, and the loan will go into default, even if you are making the payments. And that's a big mess to get out. So I like people to understand that these private loans are really, these things should be considered a loan of last resort. This is the last thing you should take out. I'm not a bank. If I were, I'd be pushing this stuff. I'm not a bank. I can't make money on direct loans. I can only tell you that if you're going to borrow, do it from the government. And if you're thinking about, home equity loan or something, that's a different story. You know what protections you have there? Virtually none. So I would say, even if it's a higher interest rate with the direct loans, investigate that first. So if you're a parent of a high school senior going to college, you've already seen the instructions to go to the studentaid.gov loan website. They complete a master promissory note, just simply put down some information, parent, grandparent for a reference. They take some entrance counseling and basically just learning about the loans. And when they graduate, they take some exit counseling. Not a tough thing. Okay. All right, now I want you to get those calculators. Now we're going to have some fun. Okay, you ready? Get the calculators out. I've got mine right here, but I've already done the calculations for you. So let's have some fun. Okay, now we want to first figure out what is going our interest. What are we going to end up paying? And because these loan calculators that used to exist are really difficult to find for the federal government. So they're basically gone. I used to be able to calculate loan repayments easily, but 5 years ago they disappeared. So that's where the calculator comes in. But this is going to be really easy to do. So we're just going to figure this out by using, and the loans are simple interest. You know, it's not like amortized or anything like that, where you have a mortgage where they sort of mix it all together and separate, you know, you pay the same amount. And anyway, if you know what a mortgage, if you know how a mortgage works, you know what I mean. But simple interest is different. Now, for the unsubsidized loans, the interest will begin accruing as each portion of the loan is dispersed. Typically, it's October and either December or January, depending on the college. Okay. So, step one, let's calculate unsubsidized loan interest, because that's what you're going to have to pay now if you're taking out a student loan and part of it's unsubsidized and the maximum is up to 55. We're going to use the standard one, the 2000. Okay. So 3.734% is our interest rate. Going to calculate the daily interest rate. So we simply divide that annual interest rate of 3.734% by 365 days. That's how many days in the year. So there's the calculation. 0.03734 divided by 365. And there's this ridiculously small number you'll come up with. So you divide 0.03734 divided by 365, and you end up, I don't even know how to pronounce that. You know, it's a millionth of a cent or something. But that's your daily interest rate, 0.0010231. Everybody got that? I'll give you another few seconds. Lance, you got it?
Got it.
Okay. All right. Step two, let's identify the daily interest charge. Very easy to do. You just take that number, it's right on your screen, the one you just calculated, and you multiply that by $2,000. And you come up with a daily interest rate of just over 20 cents a day. You know, it's like those commercials that say, hey, you know, it's costing less than a cup of coffee a day, you know, give me your money. Well, this is pretty inexpensive, 20 cents, just a little over 20 cents. So you just multiply your daily interest rate by the $2,000. Okay. Now, let's convert it into a monthly and annual amount. And I want to talk about something. So to convert it to a monthly amount, you simply multiply that rate, the daily interest, that 20 cents, by 30 days. We'll just average it out, 30 days. So now you can see that your interest, if you multiply the 0.204602 by 30 days, it equals $6.14. That's what that rounds up to, $6.14 a month. And just multiply that by 12. There's your annual amount, $73.66. That's the interest that will accrue if you don't pay it. So if you don't pay it, it's going to get added back to the loan, and then you can see at the bottom in red, that's your new loan amount. That's your new balance right there. Now, what I suggest people do is pay the interest for your student, or have them take a little job where they can pay that interest at the end of the year so it doesn't get added into the loan. So they come out at the end of their college years with just an even 8,000 versus having this compound, because it will compound pretty quickly. It's amazing how fast. I mean, I highly recommend that the parents subsidize the student's unsubsidized loan. Okay, let's talk about some stuff regarding the parent loans. So this is just for moms and dads. Good, the bad, and the ugly. The nice thing about a PLUS loan is that you don't have to put anything collateral to get the loan. And the interest is fixed. I have the interest rate that's coming up in a second. There are 3 repayment options. I mentioned that there are the asterisks there because there's different ways to do that and increase your options. And as I mentioned, the school's going to certify so you borrow exactly the amount you want. And it's also much easier to get approval from the government. Happens like once you do it, if you've already done it, then you know how quickly it goes. But within 48 hours, it's all done. Usually you'll get an instant credit approval like that. It's done. And then the amount goes to the school for certification. You know, they're going to say how much. And by the way, well, we'll talk. I don't want to get ahead of myself. That's why I have notes. Now, good thing about the parent loans. In some cases, the step parent can apply. So let's say mom's remarried and her credit, through the divorce wasn't so good, but she married a nice guy and he's willing to borrow the money for the students for the students' benefit. That's nice. Now, if he lived if the other parent, the natural parent was living in another household, they could still do the same thing. They could borrow the money, but not that step parent in another household. But the natural parent could. The deferment options exist. All you do is state when you take out the loan that you don't want to pay any interest. You don't want to make any payments for that year, and you won't owe anything. And then the PLUS loans also have the same kind of forbearance options. For each loan, you get to postpone it for a year, and you can do that 3 times for each loan. And you're going to see how that plays out in a second. Now, here's some of the not so good stuff. They have a much higher upfront origination fee. It's over 4.25% this year, coming up this fall. There are no income-driven repayment options. Again, the asterisk means stick around so you can learn about that. Teasing that, pre-selling that, right? You can't transfer the loan to your child. Like in a private loan, eventually, if you're making the payments, eventually the student proves that they're creditworthy enough, then the loan can, the cosigner can have that loan turned over to the child. It can take 10 years. It's up to the lender, not you, but it can happen. This can never happen. And of course, the more loans you have, even though you're not in default or delinquent or anything, it can impede your credit because of this thing that the PLUS loans don't take in consideration. They don't take in consideration how much you already owe. It's called income to debt ratios. PLUS loans don't look at that. They just want to know if you're current on what you do owe. But if you're buying a new car or a house or a boat or something, and you're borrowing money, they're going to want to know if you can support that loan. So it can be, that's something to consider. Also, the PLUS loans can't be discharged in bankruptcy. And if you don't pay them and you go into default rather, there's 2 different things, of course, but if you go into default, any tax refunds you have due, boom, lender's going to get them. And if you have any Social Security, when you start collecting, they're going to take 25%. And of course, your credit's ruined forever. Well, not forever, but for a really long time. So to get these loans, parent has to be a US citizen or have a green card, permanent residency. Same process, you go to the studentaid.gov site for the loans, and you complete a master promissory note, MPN. You only have to do it once every 10 years. So you only have to fill out once. You'll put in I believe you'll put in, oops, went too far. 2 references, a friend, and if you're employed, you'll put an employer down. Now, they're not going to be contacted. This is something that most people think, oh, they're going to contact me on borrowing. No. If you become delinquent or go defaulting on your loan, then they're going to look up your friend. Then they're going to contact your employer, but not until then. I mean, imagine all the people taking PLUS loans out and student loans. They don't have time to call. They're not going to. And then once you finish that, the college, you'll fill out some stuff online and the college will certify the amount. You'll take some entrance counseling. It's basically a pass-fail test. Can't screw it up. And the monies will be dispersed in October and December and January. The loans actually don't become due until the second half of the loan is dispersed. So it wouldn't be till December, January, unless you elect to defer, and then you don't know anything. Deferment avoids payments while students enroll for at least half time. You got to be in school at least half time, and you don't have to pay until 6 months after graduation on the regular, the way it's set up for deferral. But it will add interest to the loan, and you can use that same calculator. You can go back on the and if you remember how we did it, where you can look at the recording when it's published, in 5 years from now or whenever Lance gets around to it, then you can look it up. But here's what I say. This is a tip. Whatever your origination fee is, remember it's over 4.25%. You don't want to be paying interest on that part of the loan. Hopefully you have the resources. If you're going to borrow, say, $40,000, that you can take $1,600 and put it to the debt, so you're not paying interest on that. I hope you can what you're not paying the college, just hang on to that. And then when the loan goes to repayment, or still in the deferral, but when you're able to make a payment, add it in December or January. Okay. Pay off that origination fee. All right. So can't have any kind of adverse credit to get these loans. If you owe more than $2,085, that's in arrears for more than 90 days or in collections in the past 2 years, it's not going to be a good thing in terms of getting these loans. In the past 5 years, you can't have any of these. You can't be in default. You can't have a debt due to a bankruptcy of any kind, a foreclosure, somebody repos your car, your TV set, whatever, not good. Tax liens, and if your wages are currently being garnished, no, yet. So you may want to look to the other parent to take out that loan. And there's some reasons why you might want to actually, well, when we go over the strategies, a good question is, which parent should take out the loan? Well, we're going to answer that. Okay, here's my little, infomercial real quick. FAFSA. Now, I want to introduce you to this program. It's an incredibly powerful tool. And it works great with Lance's program, I just have to say, because it works in concert. It does what Lance's stuff doesn't do. It doesn't fill out your forms for you. It doesn't send them in automatically. It doesn't evaluate your aid awards. It doesn't negotiate for you. This stuff does all that. Here's the thing. Students get a whole lot of help. They got counselors, essay prep coaches, test prep people, tutors, but parents really have nothing. You can't go to the school and say, how do I pay for college? The teachers, they like to help, but they don't want anything to do with it. And in some cases, liability prevents them from doing that. Okay. So what I want you to think about is what FAFSA can do for you. I mean, if you've ever filed your taxes using TurboTax, this is perfect, easy. You can do this. That's how you need to think about it. It also comes from our professional version of FAFSA, which many people use or professionals use to manage all their clients. And we broke it out so that it works for parents. And we broke it out a year ago and we tested it with parents. I mean, it works, but it was a question of how does it work with parents? How do we communicate with parents? Really what it is you get a personal financial aid guru, or I should say a virtual. Everybody knows what virtual is. It's not real, but what we do is we make it a little more real. We can actually track your progress through the whole process. We'll email you, we run reports and see who's doing what, who's not doing what. You haven't filed your FAFSA, you don't have a college there, you got deadlines coming up, we're gonna push you, gonna text you, gonna email you, make sure you're doing what you need to be doing. And that way you're guided through the process and you don't make any errors, which can cost you a whole lot of money. So how does it work? Well, probably if anybody's ever filled out a financial aid form, it's a pain in the butt. It takes a lot of time preparing how to answer the questions. Very difficult. Not for everybody. The lower income you are, the easier it is to fill it out. The more you have, and I don't mean, like more than 50,000, you're starting to get into some areas where it can be a little more difficult. And if the schools require more financial aid documents from you, well, it gets more complicated. So it'll file those forms for you in a matter of minutes. It'll also find colleges that will likely give your student the biggest award packages. They're actually tuition discounts. And this is based on, right now it's called the Expected Family Contribution, or EFC. It's changing, not this year, but next year. It's not looking good with the changes. So we're staying on top of all that. We're aware of what the changes are. We're just gonna have to wait and see what the colleges do, but we're gonna use our 25 years of experience to know how to guide our clients through this, as well as through FAFSA. It also gives you the ability to negotiate. Now, I know, negotiate, oh my gosh. Now I wrote a note here, so I just get this right. Don't get nervous about being a negotiator, okay? Because you don't actually have to be a negotiator. Nobody's good at being a negotiator. Most people aren't comfortable doing it anyway. So we make it easy for you. We make it so easy for you because you don't have to do anything other than copy and paste some text that we give you into an email from your student's account and send it to the college. And if I told you how much money one student received this year just by sending a text and having the college respond and say, oh, just fill this form out. it's a small hoop to jump through. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Quick story. Do I have time to tell you a quick story about this one? Okay, great. All right. Had a
Raise
kid.
your hand. Raise your hand if you want to hear it.
Do you want to hear the story? Yeah. Get the feedback. Do I want to? Okay. All right. Cool.
There you go.
Okay. His name's Tio, and he applied to a number of schools that he was instructed to apply to. All good ones. He was a swimmer, by the way, D1. He wanted to go to it was at Hamilton College, I think. He got turned down. Early decision. No, he's not going there. Parents were divorced. Mother I think they were expected family contributions in the 50s, but his father's mega rich, and they had to fill out a non-custodial profile form, so he didn't qualify for anything except merit money. He got at Denison College in Ohio. It's about 30 miles east of Columbus, and Gettysburg College. If you don't know where it is, you've heard of it. Gettysburg, right? It's in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Got 22,000. Lafayette College in Easton, PA. That's Easton, the town. If people at Poconos are, they know where it is. Didn't give him anything. And that's what we sent the text. And he wrote it, he copied and pasted it, wrote a few things. And because he had some other awards to leverage, bang, he got $20,000, not for 1 year, but for all 4 years, each year, $80,000, just by the little text he copied and pasted from our guide, my 9-page guide that gets included. So anyway, I just thought maybe you might want to know that. Anyway, we track your progress and we remind you of what to do and when. So it's pretty good. We also provide you with videos and webinars on how to answer the questions. I'm a bit of a renegade, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But nobody does anything illegal, unethical, nothing more than the colleges do. Okay.
I just want to say too, inside the FAFSA Assist software, the training you did on appealing your award letter is phenomenal.
Oh, good. Thanks. Good. So why is it important? Well, financial aid is really complicated these days. It just gets worse. Now there are trapdoors, there's pitfalls everywhere, and it just takes more time to research and do it right. Because you only really get one chance for the first year's package is really the template for the future years. They don't change much. The system originally was designed to help students with a great deal of financial need. Very little money to afford college. But now the reverse is true. The system favors families with the opposite situation. I mean, it's crazy. So over the years, the best way I can put it is the financial aid system has corrupted itself. Sort of like that movie, The Ten Commandments. Moses comes down and he's looking at everybody go crazy. The people have corrupted themselves. Well, that's what's happened to the aid. Now, I don't use the word rigged. Some people use the word rigged. It's that implies that there was intent to cheat your student or cheat students out of receiving their fair share of the financial aid pie. It's not rigged, but it is convoluted and it's messed up. So FAFSA Assist helps provide you with the information and tools you need to basically get the edge and give you more control. And it's not just for high school seniors. I mean, because you have to apply for every year, it's a great tool for everybody, especially if you have younger kids coming along, because you can just add students as they go to college, and you don't have to duplicate a lot of information. Anyway, that's FAFSAssist.com. That's it. Let's go on. All right, the debit card stuff. Yeah, I actually wrote a couple articles over the years about this, so I thought I'd just throw this in because it has to do with debt as well. But this comes up quite a bit, so I just thought I'd answer it right now. Students are going to have indirect expenses. They're going to have to pay for things, books, trips, coffee at this, whatever. You're just going to have expenses. So what's a good idea is to, parents go, well, let's give my student a debit card, or the college has debit cards, and but they have high fees. And debit cards also don't build credit at all. Don't do anything. Credit cards are better because they have warranties and fraud protection. Credit cards have additional benefits often, such as rewards programs, 1% or get miles or whatever. Credit cards may include other additional security and spending benefits. Very important. But the best reason to have a student have their own credit card, well, I'm going to say a shared credit card, not their credit card, a shared credit card. It's in the student's name, but secured by mom and dad, okay? The bill goes to the parent. You get to see what the money's being spent on. You set the limit per month. You say, okay, I only want my student, we already bought the books, so he gets $300 for spending money this month, or whatever it is. It can only spend what you budget. And every time you pay the bill, your student gets the credit. He builds credit, or she builds credit. Okay, that's pretty awesome. What's going on there? Okay. So at graduation, they should have a credit score of 800. As you've been paying, what you could have done on a debit card, you do with a credit card and just pay it, you know, write a check or however you want to pay it. But they get an 800 credit score and now they can get jobs, they can get an apartment, they can get a lease, they can buy a car, they can even, you know, sometimes even insurance to get a good rate. You know, they check your credit. It is, and you don't have to give anybody a graduation gift at the end of the 4 years. This is it, the gift of perfect credit. Save yourself a bundle. Okay, that's that. Now, here's what everybody's been waiting for, okay? Paying pennies on the dollar using plus loan strategies. Okay, good work here. All right. Now, the strategy, see, I'm getting into it. Now, the strategy is to basically put off paying your loans as long as humanly possible, and therefore making payments that would have gone to pay for college into your bank account or your retirement account. There's a couple of strategies. One is for parents who want to help pay for their children's college education, but would have to borrow to do that. But they're also concerned that they can't afford the loan payments because you borrow one loan, then you get another one, and you got payments. Even if you defer them, by the time they all come due, you're going to owe 4 loans on one child. That's kind of unmanageable. And especially if you're trying to save for retirement. Many parents can't do both at the same time. And you know what colleges are costing these days. You know, I don't think you can go to college in 4 years unless, you know, for under $100,000. I don't think it's possible anymore. The second is for parents who could pay they could pay the cost, but they'd rather keep their money for as long as possible and watch it grow and be in the position of never, ever having to pay them off. Ever having to pay them off. Now, both strategies incorporate all the features that are available, that are really available. This is not any kind of BS. It's actually, go to studentaid.gov, you'll find all this is true. If you can sift through enough of it to connect the dots, but you'll find that this is all through the direct loan, federal loan program, and allows you to fund your retirement rather than give the colleges the money or even the government. I mean, think about this. I think I said this when we were in the very beginning, we were just sort of fooling around. College costs have doubled in the past 9 years. The degrees are worth probably less than they were then, yet they're double. Colleges tend to exploit parents' emotions, and they keep raising prices. There's a lot of reasons why they keep going up. One is people just find a way to pay for it. You know, if parents just said, wait a minute, we're not paying anymore. If everybody said, nope, that's it, more colleges would, you know, curb their increases. Unfortunately, most people just don't think about it. They go into debt and they hope for the best. That's not a good strategy. Hoping for the best is not good. So there are a few differences. I think for those who can't pay in full, you're still going to keep your money as long as possible. You're going to fund your retirement. You're going to repay using pennies on the dollar. So if you're paying 20 cents on the dollar later, then, give you a quick example. Let's say you're sending your kid, let's say you can afford the whole thing. Your students at a college cost $75,000 a year. That's $6,250 a month, 12 months. That's a pretty big check. Wouldn't you rather write a $500 check 13 years from now? Think about that, okay, per month. It'd be great if you could qualify for loan forgiveness, like public service loan forgiveness programs. If you work for a not-for-profit of the government, you can do this if you follow these strategies. Now, I don't know why it keeps doing that. There, Okay. So how does it work? So you got a child going to a 4-year school. You're going to borrow 4+ loans. Go through the process we already talked about. You borrow each loan. You're going to defer those payments all 4 years. Then you're going to elect forbearance on those 4 loans. You do it once each for each loan 3 times in a row. Now you have to give some kind of thing. Well, we're having trouble. You can't pay this. I got other kids in college, whatever. And they give you that forbearance. Meanwhile, the interest is accruing. I know. And it's capitalizing. But see, once you get to the end of that, and if you get tired of that, you don't want to go all that way, that's fine. You consolidate multiple loans. You consolidate the loans. The special program, you can take your loans and consolidate. But if you do it all into one loan, you don't get all of the benefits. So what you do is you take, let's say, okay, you've got 1 child, you've got 4 loans, consolidate 2, and then you consolidate the other 2. And then you do what's called a double consolidation with another federal servicer. And now you qualify for all sorts of income-driven repayment programs. ICR, income contingent, public service loan forgiveness, where you didn't. Now let's see, we got some case studies here. All right, this will probably spell it out pretty good. We got a guy, Sal, sweetheart of a guy, works for the DMV. He's not a robot yet, but he's a nice guy. And he's 55, he's got a couple of kids, divorced, remarried, and his income's about $60,000. Doesn't pay a lot at that DMV. I think it's in Arkansas. So he doesn't want his wife to have to pay anything or suffer because of those loans he took out for his two children, $130,000 for the 2 of them. And he's having to pay, he's in a standard repayment program of $1,443 a month. He can't afford that, and he certainly can't afford to invest in his retirement. If he was able to pay this, it'd be $1,443 a month. He'd totally pay $172,000. That's what he would owe if he paid the whole thing. That's what he would have paid. So he can't afford the payments. So he consolidates the 8 loans into 2, qualifies for ICR, income contingent repayment, and now his new payment is $709 a month. It's half. Then he takes the 2 loans and he consolidates them into 1 double consolidation loan. And what happens? Make sure I'm on the right slide. Right. Okay. First thing he's doing is going to look at his tax return and he's going to say, honey, we're not filing jointly anymore because here's what's going to happen. Being married, you save a few bucks, but I'm paying $1,443 a month on my kids' loans. Now I'm going to pay, by filing separately, I'm going to pay $282 for 20 years. That's $67,680 bucks. It's going to save $1,161 a month. He can't afford any of that, right? But he can certainly afford he can afford $282, and he can afford now to put $500 a month towards his retirement. And because he's putting money towards his retirement, he's reducing his taxable income on his adjusted gross, thereby lowering his payments. Pretty sweet. So Barbara, she's a sales manager. She's got 2 kids. She's 46, had a household, divorced, AGI of 60,000. She has her own loans, $60,000, $70,000. She hasn't paid off yet. She's got 2 daughters. She's taken out loans of 117, total debt between her loans and the kids' loans, $187,000. Got it? $187,000. She's a middle-aged woman, makes $60,000. She's having to pay $1,200 a month. She can only afford to pay $600. She hasn't saved much for retirement. Her current plan is costing her $1,200 a month, right? 300 months. That's $360,000. That's a lot of money. And what was her original loan? She owed $187,000. Now she's double, $360,000. So what she's going to do is the same thing Sal did. She's going to consolidate those 12 loans because she's got some herself and her kids have 4 each. She's got 4. They got 4 each. They're going to consolidate into 2 loans. Then she's going to consolidate that under a revised earn as you revised pay as you earn. There's so many acronyms. It's revised pay as you earn program, and her new payment is now $290 a month. She has to pay it in 20 years. That's the limit for that. You can't go beyond that. But if you don't pay it by then, it's forgiven. $69,600. That's what she's going to pay versus the $360,000. Now, if that doesn't make you go, whoa, what's wrong with this picture? Then you're not paying attention. But this is in fact the way it works. I've run the numbers. I went through this stuff 4 days, looked at people's cases, and this is exactly what happens. So she's saving $290,000 in loan payments. And if she invests $300 a month for 20 years, and she'll be what, 66 at 7%? She's got almost $160,000 in retirement she didn't have. Not only did she pay the kids' loans off, her loans off, but now she's got something to retire on. And she can have a quality of life. Before, that's a lot of money. If you make $60,000, you got nothing. Now, I have to tell you, this is not something you want to do without help, okay? You really just don't want to do this without help. There's too many, it's not that you can't do it, but there's too many things to consider. Your financial situation, number one, if you're, which repayment program is going to make the sense for you? How much, should you do married filing separately? I mean, there's a lot of things to do. And then when you actually go through the consolidations, how do you do that? Do you do them online? Do you do it with your same servicer? These are all things that you need to know. They're simple steps, but you need to follow them exactly. Okay? Just be very careful when you do it. Get some help. My goodness. It's, you'll save a lot of it. If you're going to save $150,000, it's worth a couple $100. Not to me. I don't do this for people. There's people that do this. I can send you to people who do this. Anyway, so for those who can write the check, heck, defer the payments. Go into forbearance. Consolidate and use forbearance for 3 years. I mean, think about it. What's going to happen. Then you double consolidate, go into forbearance for another 3 years. You pay nothing for 13 years. Keep your money. What does that do? I don't know why that's popping up. So imagine you're saving 75, let's say, you're going to a pretty expensive school, $75,000 a year, 4 years. At 7%, you're saving that money. Now you end up with $353,000. And after 9 more years not contributing anything, now you got $662,000. And I think 7% is a reasonable rate of return over a great long period of time. And the parent with the least income takes out the loans. So less than $100,000 per year. In this case, we're looking at 100. The repayment with the accumulated, you're going to start to repay with those accumulated investments. It doesn't adversely hurt your credit score. It doesn't affect your income. It does affect your income to debt ratios, but if say you're the spouse, your husband makes or your wife makes a lot more than you. You don't make as much. You go into double consolidation, you're paying a few $100s a month. The interest accrues, so what? Doesn't matter. By the time these loans come due, you'll be dead. I mean, that's actually, I have a client, he's 66, his wife's 10 years younger. She works, he doesn't really, he invests money. So he's got some money in a stock thing he does. So why should he pay anything? He'll take all these loans out, do the strategy, and by the time he's in his mid-80s, he's not going to worry about it. Just not going to worry about it. So that's pretty much how it works. I mean, it is a little complicated. I try to simplify it, but what I was just trying to show you is that it's really doable if you do a little planning, and hopefully you have a greater understanding now of how student and parent repayment works. Now, as I said, I don't advocate going into debt, not without a strategy. With college costs going up at 4% a year, cost of attendance at a $60K college is going to cost $62,400 next year. Colleges tend to give you a little less help every year, so let's keep them honest. Let's just keep them honest. Keep yourself in a position where you don't have to jeopardize your retirement and your good standing and your emergency reserves and things that you need. Absolutely. Pay attention to this stuff. If you can't afford it to pay out of pocket, think about loan strategies. All right. And finally, if you're wondering if FAFSA could be of help, if you're a student going to college in the fall, keep in mind that you're going to be paying the second semester after you file anyway. So take a look at it. And if you have other kids preparing the next couple of years, go to FAFSA.com and review the benefits. And that's it.
That is awesome. Excellent. Excellent job. Thank you very much. Hey, first of all, I want to say thank you for taking your time to be with us tonight and sharing that information. I know we're going to have lots of questions. I've already seen some questions coming in. So type in your questions real quick. Also, I always like when we have a guest speaker, I always like to share with the guest speaker what you got out of the training. So in the comments, put what your big aha moment was. Type in the comments some feedback for Stuart so that Stuart knows what you got out of the training so that he can see what you liked and maybe what you didn't like, but give him some kudos there and put something in the comments about your big aha moment. And I just want to take just a few minutes while you're typing that in and while you're typing in your questions. I just want to take a few minutes to go over our Wealth Mastery program, because his FAFSA Assist program is a part of our program, and we couldn't do what we do without his program. So it is very much integrated into our program. So Stuart, if you'll just hit next real quick. Our program is broken down into 5 phases, and it's everything you need to master the college funding process and avoid any financial mistakes. So click on next. It's broken down into 5 phases. Phase 1 is all about reducing the cost of college. There are so many of these nuances and so many of these financial strategies that you need to know. Stuart mentioned the EFC number and how the colleges look at what you're expected to pay. That's all part of phase 1. Some of you may have a huge EFC number, so we want to search for schools that offer lots of merit-based money, and you want to learn how to maximize the merit-based money. And you're going to use the FAFSA Assist program to see, hey, maybe a few more points on an SAT score could bump me into some more merit-based money. So we want to fork out a little money for a tutor to be able to get that SAT score up if it means that much extra free money and merit-based money. Or maybe we need to reallocate some assets and reposition some assets to be able to minimize that EFC number. That's all part of phase 1. Everything we can do to minimize the cost of college. Phase 2 is all about the college cost calculation. Stuart mentioned some of that just by using the calculator and some of these functions of how much college loans are going to cost, how much is the actual cost of college going to cost. Some of you have younger kids, need to know ahead of time what college is going to cost with all the inflation rates and everything, plus the actual loans that you might be taking out. What is the cost on those loans? Things like that is all going to be part of the college cost calculation when we break down and analyze what it is really going to cost. Phase 3 is all about, on next there. Phase 3 is all about the college funding plan. There are right ways and wrong ways to pay for college. In fact, how you pay for college is one of the 5 biggest mistakes that most families make with their money. So in phase 3, we are going to talk about all the pros and cons of all the different college funding options that are out there and why you probably shouldn't use a 529 plan for most situations. We obviously like to think outside the box, and we like to teach people a new way to save and pay for college that gives you all of your money back during retirement. I wrote a book on it called The Retirement Scholarship Strategy, and we spend a lot of time in phase 3 focusing on the new way to save and pay for college and the problem with all of the current college funding options. Phase 4 is all about making up. Finding the money is all about making up for this huge cost of college. No matter how you pay for college, it's going to be very difficult to pay for it without it having a negative impact on your retirement, unless you become extremely efficient in all other areas of your finances. Ways to minimize fees, ways to maximize retirement, ways to leverage other people's money, all sorts of financial strategies that you can use to make up for this major cost of college. And it also helps you to find areas that maybe you could redirect money. Maybe there's money that you're putting over here that is not as efficient as you put it over, as you could get out of it over here. So we reposition things and we try to get you as efficient as possible to maximize retirement and find the money that you need to actually pay for college. And then finally, phase 5 is all about reviewing this plan on an annual basis, making adjustments as needed, improving your skills when it comes to understanding money, and earn extra income as well by just referring other families to the program that we have is all part of it. So that is our Wealth Mastery program. If you want to learn more about that, you can schedule a free call at collegefundingcall.com. Also, if you just want to use the FAFSA Assist, which is also included in our program. So if you want to book a call and talk to us about our program that includes the FAFSA Assist along with a lot of other stuff, then book a call first. If you know you just want the FAFSA Assist, go to FAFSA Assist. I'm actually putting in the comments. I just copied and pasted a link that you can just click on that takes you to a link to sign up for the FAFSA Assist, where you can virtually gain all of Stuart's knowledge through the FAFSA Assist program, because obviously Stuart does not have time to work with individuals one-on-one like he would like to. So he has basically duplicated himself in the FAFSA Assist through virtually helping everyone through that program. And he's put his entire career and all of his expertise into that program. And like I said, it is phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about it. Okay, so with that being said, we're now going to go to the Q&A and see what kind of questions you might have. And so I'm going to scroll back a little bit because I know there was one up here earlier. And Stuart says, I have a Parent Plus loan for my son's freshman year, and the school couldn't tell me how much I would actually need, so I borrowed the max. I had 8,000 credit amount back for each semester, and I returned the money back to the lender. We are now going into sophomore year, and I will need a Parent Plus loan again. Should I return excess funds back to the lender if I received a large credit again, or apply it for the following year?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. But I will say, if for some reason the school let you over borrow, then what I would do is, if it was 16,000 extra.
Yeah, 8,000 per semester.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's 16. I would keep that money and use it because it's a lower interest rate than the one that because it just went up a point this year. So you've already paid the origination fee on it, right? And it's a lower interest rate. So keep the money and use that to pay for college.
Yeah.
Use that to pay part of the bill. Absolutely.
That's brilliant. I like it. Another question is a PLUS loan the same as a Cal loan, a college access loan?
No.
Excellent. Okay. April says, great info. Marsh says, are there income minimums or maximums in order to qualify for consolidation programs?
Income? No, just creditworthiness. That's it.
Okay. So you can consolidate your loans just based on credit, right?
Well, actually, no. To consolidate them, they don't even check your credit. You've already got the loans. You've already passed the credit check. You're just putting them into another loan vehicle. You're not borrowing any more money.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. And then can another relative of the student take a PLUS loan?
Unfortunately, no.
So it's just the parent.
Parent or in some cases, a step parent.
Yeah. Okay. And then if they don't qualify, then the student could qualify for a little bit more on the unsubsidized.
Right, 4,000. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And then how much? Oh, let's see. What does the service cost? You can click on the link there, the FAFSA Assist link I put in the comments, and you can see the cost of the FAFSA Assist is on there. It's $150, right, Stuart?
149.
149. All right, perfect. And then if you want to know what our services cost, just book a call with us. It's just a quick 15-minute call. We'll kind of walk you through more of we'll kind of go into more details about what we offer and what that costs and all that kind of stuff. We also have some payment plan options and things like that. Okay, so Ron is saying that what he got the most out of the presentation was the plus loan strategy with lots of explanation marks. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. That's great. Ginny said that she really liked the forbearance options. That was new information there. Madonna says the plus loan consolidation was a great aha moment for her. Mary says, love the forbearance and the double consolidation strategies. Excellent, Mary. Jennifer says, I learned that there is hope to help our son figure out a way to pay off his college loans. That's cool. Now, a lot of people on here, they have, kids that are almost finishing college or already done with college. So a lot of this information is extremely applicable to families that have found themselves in this world of hurt trying to pay these college loan bills.
Right. Well, with student loans, they automatically have a lot more options than parents. They don't have to go through quite so much rigmarole, although they certainly might, depending on how much they owe, especially if they go to graduate school. There's only so much you can borrow. I think the maximum is 52,000. I can't remember the exact number, but for an undergraduate, there's only so much you can borrow, and that's with the 4,000 a year extra. But when you start getting grad loans, grad plus loans, it can really add up. So that's when you start to get into problems, like if you get married and one spouse doesn't have debt and the other one does, and you're talking about starting a family and you're paying, $2,000 a month, $1,500 a month or whatever, it can really make things difficult. So having strategies and looking forward now and saying, well, this is what we might be looking at some point. So how are we going to manage that? And how's it going to impact my life down the road? Don't wait because it doesn't get any better. Yeah.
No, I like that. Awesome. Okay. Leslie says, I liked the comment you made to pay the interest on unsubsidized loans every year our child is in school. That was a good takeaway there. All right. Vicky says, deferment, loan consolidation, minimizing amount paid back. Jig says, you were awesome. Great information. Very important information all parents need to learn. Agreed. Absolutely. Charla says, lots of aha moments. Really like the tip regarding credit cards for students so they graduate with a high credit score. Also like the strategies for deferment, loan consolidation, etc. Crawford says, aha moment was the strategic forbearance. Excellent. Nancy says, I'm sorry if this is a dumb question, but plus loans are through the school, or who do I apply for a plus loan from?
Oh, it's it's a direct federal loan. You go through studentaid.gov, and there was a link on the page. I mean, basically, you're just going to you have to have a FAFSA filled out. You need a FSA ID, and you go through the process of applying just like the student would. It's basically the same, a little different, but because even the students have to direct where they want the money to go, which school they're sending it to. But it's not difficult. But you're borrowing it through the Treasury actually, and then the Treasury sends the money to the school in 2 payments.
And just so you know, when I went and filled it out for my daughter, I filled it out. It was like 30 minutes. I got an approval, and within I swear it was 24 hours, the money was wired to the school.
Yeah, well, it was accepted and in the queue to go to the school at the appropriate time. Yeah. But yeah, it takes less than 48 hours typically.
Yeah, it was pretty fast. So I know a lot of you, have been wanting this training because, college is coming up in the fall, and a lot of parents that like to prepare, they wanted to, start jumping on these loans right away. But a lot of this information, you've got this information in plenty of time. The other thing, Stuart, that I don't know if you mentioned, but just a thought that came to me, a lot of families with high incomes that don't think they're going to qualify for any financial aid, they don't think that they need to fill out the FAFSA. But in order to take advantage of some of these strategies that we talked about, they're going to need to fill out the FAFSA, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's if you're rich, if you're really wealthy or highly affluent, it's kind of hard to screw it up, because if your EFCs, even just based on income, you make over, $300,000, your EFC is going to be over the cost of any school, so you can't mess it up. But you need to fill it out to be able to, because you need an FSA ID at least to go into the system and borrow the money and send, because they're going to check to see the students enrolled there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you gotta have a FAFSA done.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Let's see here. Olga says, does the repayment plans you discussed work for both parent and student federal loans?
Well, yeah, there's some of the programs. Like I said, the student has access to like 8 or 9 of them. The parents only can get a couple of the. Well, I shouldn't say a couple. It depends. Once you go into double consolidation, you have IBR, you have ICR, you have repay, and then there's another one I think as well. I'm not looking at the list, but it's generally you don't get them until you consolidate and then double consolidate. So you have to do that. But how you consolidate is really key. Let's say you have Great Lakes as your servicer and you have 4 loans with them. You're not going to want to consolidate with them. Especially you're not going to want to double consolidate, because they'll just consolidate into one loan with them. And that means that you lose all the benefits and you can't undo it. So you have to choose different lenders. When you go in consolidation and double consolidation, you do it on paper first. And then when you do the double, you're consolidating all those loans. And there's a process to find, account numbers. I mean, it's an involved thing. But then you send it to one like Fed loan servicing. But as long as it's not you, if you're going to do public service loan forgiveness, definitely Fed loan servicing, which you'll see is in a drop down when you get there. But really, you have to go into that process, or you don't get those benefits and you don't get the forgiveness. That's the thing. Now, the one thing I didn't talk about, and the reason I didn't talk about it, but I'll mention it right now, is what about the actual, when you talk about loan forgiveness, what about the money that's being forgiven? Is that taxable? Well, right now, the Trump administration did some proposals where to the end of 2025, they're not, okay? Not taxable, but not too many people are in this program that would qualify for it anyway. So we have to see what's going to happen. But we're talking 20 years from now, anything can happen. Chances are they're going to get rid of that. You won't have to have a tax bomb. But even if you do, you're investing and saving your money along the way, and you get to live your life and have the things that are important. So if you do end up owing some taxes, and that's kind of a complicated thing, especially when you throw in community property states, which I think are 10. That's where you need to, be talking to a certified student loan professional. I can talk about this stuff generally, but to sit down and spend hours with you, I don't have the time for that. That's not my thing. But I certainly understand it enough to be able to share this with you. So if you are going to borrow, definitely go through the government, because they're the least onerous. The private loans, they will make your life a living heck if you can't pay it or have trouble. Like I said, the government, I mean, who likes the government, right? But it's better than not sending your kids to college or putting your house up. And for some reason, think about this. You take a home equity loan and you don't quite get enough out of it to pay for all the years of school your kids need. And then you lose your job. You got a HELOC on it and you can't make the payments. And 3 months later, they come and take your house.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had a refi and you took money out, let's say you did a first mortgage, took cash out, equity out to pay, at least you'd have more time, if you got into trouble, to get a job and get yourself back on your feet. So I don't like putting my house up for my kids. I wouldn't do it. I'd rather be beholden to the government who, is in Washington than my bank who's in my hometown who's coming to take my home with the sheriffs and people. Just wouldn't do it.
That's great. That's great. Awesome. All right. Diane says, thank you, Stuart. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and strategies tonight. I am interested in getting help. Exclamation mark. Excellent. Thanks, Diane. All right. Jean says, I already completed two FAFSA. And my son is set on his college. We need 3 years to complete college. Would FAFSA assist be beneficial? Do you recommend taking Parent Plus loans on first semester or second semester if we have the option of paying the first semester from an IRA or 529 account?
Oh, okay. And Lance, you're going to agree with me 100%. First thing, let's start at the end. Do not take money out of your IRA to pay for college. Do not do it.
Agreed.
Forget that. The interesting thing about plus loans is I had a client who had a number of properties, and he was doing quite well for a while. And in mid-spring, he got into some deep trouble with his mortgage and stuff like that. And he had been paying out of pocket. So he'd already paid for the full year. But because he got the plus loan before May, before the last day of class, he got a full refund on that money and was able to use it to do whatever he needed. It's been a while, but I don't remember exactly what he did with it. But he needed it. Jeffrey Sheesby, I remember him. His kid was at Dartmouth. Anyway, it's coming back to me. You got to say, I've had thousands and thousands of clients over the past 25 years, and in FAFSA, the FAFSOFT, we do tens of thousands of clients' forms, but some of them stick out. Yeah, you can borrow. I'm sorry, I'm losing the question. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm answering the question. Don't take your retirement money. You can borrow the money at any time during the year. You don't have to do it today. You don't have to do it in August. Understand you're going to get a bill in July. You'll have to pay it for the semester. And then, you have until prior to the end of class in the spring.
That's excellent. Great feedback. All right. Michelle Newman says, mind is blown, explanation mark. Never knew double consolidation even existed. Thanks for all this great information. All right. Amy says the aha was get a financial advisor. And I would include maybe get one that understands the college aspect of the financial advising. Nancy says, my aha moment was the hint about forbearance. I would never have thought to do that. Lori says, aha moment plus repayment strategy. Defer, forbearance, consolidate, defer, double consolidation equals affordable payment. I want to do this in year one, in the first year when my daughter graduates from college. Blew my mind. All right. Thanks, Lori. All right. Charlie says Cal might be for Texas residents only. Yeah, possibly. Okay. Yen says, are there any benefits to using private loans if you have good credit and can get lower interest rates than a Parent Plus loan? You definitely covered that, of the pros and cons of the private loans versus the plus loans. Obviously, the interest rate is not the only thing to consider, right?
No, it's like buying a car. People don't want to know how much the car is. They want to know what the payment is. Yeah. It just like a house. What's more important? For most people, it's the payment. Can I afford the payment?
Yeah.
If you have enough money to go take a private loan, you have a good enough credit score, and you can pay the loan at any time. But understand it's going to be the parent taking the loan out, not the student. Student doesn't have good enough credit at that point, as an 18-year-old to be able to borrow 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, I have no problem with, as long as people understand. But I would consider that for most people, that would be the loan of last resort. But it does have a couple of advantages, like a lower rate, absolutely. But it's variable. So it could go up. It will go up. Rates are starting to creep up. We're starting to see that now. How much? Who knows?
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
But you don't get a lock. And people, sometimes they like a guarantee. So they like to know they're paying 3.7, 3.4%. That's good enough for them.
Yep. Awesome. All right. And then let's see here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any. Does legal guardian qualify for plus loan?
No.
No. Okay. How about I submitted a question in the Q&A? Oh, we have Q&As. All right, let me get to those in just a sec. I'll check the Q&As in just a minute, going
Yeah,
through
I see there's some here.
Yeah. Let me go through the comments real quick here, get through the comments. Plus loan forbearance, Beverly said, my child is 19 years old, transferring from community college to UAB. She will be considered junior. Would I benefit from the FAFSA assist?
Well, it's what's good about Fast Assist is that it rolls ahead every year, you know. So you're basically just updating a little bit. The real benefit, obviously, is going to be with a student who's not in college yet and they're looking to file their first forms. Is there a benefit to doing Fast Assist? Yeah, sure. I mean, it's automatic. I mean, it's $149, and basically, you're going to be able to get a lot of data and information about everything having to do with college in one place. And you get to put everything about your students' college stuff in one place. You can evaluate the financial aid awards there. You know, you can get appeal and negotiation help in it. So, you know, that's something that applies to any year you're in school. So I would say, yeah, you know, I mean, I'm not going to say no. You're not going to get the full benefit because you're not applying to, say, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 schools, you know, and you're not looking for discounts at that point. So those kind of things are you know, you're not going to get the full benefit, but you're certainly going to get some benefit. So whether, you know, convenience and that sort of thing means something, you know, yeah, I mean,
Yeah. It's well worth the money. That's for sure. I need,
these days, you know.
yeah. Anitra says, I wish you did the presentation for high schools. The counselors don't tell or know all this info as it pertains to financial aid.
Let me tell you, nobody knows this. I mean, so
I was gonna say,
there are people that know. Very few people know about this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this 25 years, and I've probably forgotten more than I learned. You know, that I can remember. But that doesn't even make sense. But I forgot.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I forgot more than
you know.
What most people know.
Yeah.
So this stuff is always changing. It's always evolving. The entire financial aid system is being turned on its head next year. Not this fall, but the next fall. And we have to see how that's all going to play out. I mean, one of the things that we're losing is, you know, is parents who've got more than one child in school know that they get a reduction in their expected family contribution for every child they have in school. That's going away.
Yeah.
So if you were paying, let's say your EFC was, you know, just make it easy. Let's say it's $30,000. You got 3 kids in college. Now your EFC is $10,000 per kid. Well, now your EFC is $30,000 for each kid, $90,000. So we need to work through that.
Yeah.
And if, you know, if you're a member of, you know, a subscriber to part of the FAFSA Assist family, if you will, we're gonna help you with that.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. All right, Beverly says, so glad to hear there's help out there. Sherry says that she had a similar experience with Lafayette as the previous example I talked about. Yeah, she said, my son didn't receive any merit scholarships, and so we sent in documentation to explain how he got in so much money once, and they gave him like $25,000 a year. He received more from other colleges, so he ended up not going to Lafayette. It's definitely a good option to question the amount of money or the lack of money you get. Awesome.
Most parents don't know they can even do it. They're afraid. And 2 urban legends. One, they think if they do ask for more, that they'll get what aid they did get, they'll lose it, or the kid will be the offer of admission will be rescinded. I mean, not true. I mean, just not true at all.
Yeah.
I don't know how that stuff even gets started.
Yeah. You should always appeal every offer, right?
Well, you should know if it's fair to start with, and you know, have some leverage. I mean, you can't go to a car dealership and get a better price if you don't got a better offer, you know, of a similar car somewhere else.
That's true.
You got to have some.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we teach. That's what we need people to do.
For sure. Another aha moment, the credit cards versus the debit card was useful. Kirk says, since my son is an incoming sophomore in college, we have already filled out 2 FAFSAs and 2 CSS profile forms. Explain the advantage of the FAFSA assist at this time in our college career. We just talked about that for the previous question. Where do you go to make sure that the steps for the plus loan consolidation are followed exactly? You mentioned like a certified loan specialist.
Yeah, you need somebody to help you do that. I mean, I'll probably publish some sort of a document or video on that, but it's essentially getting applications on the paper applications and filling those out, and then of course there's your IB, your income driven repayment option. You want to submit that. If it's public service, you want to submit that with your double consolidation, and that you do online at the end. But the other ones you do in paper and send certified mail. It's very precise stuff, but it's So I would recommend that somebody who knew what they're doing gives them the steps. But it's not. That's actually after the fact. You need to know which program you're looking at. Which is going to be best for you, and you can see there was a lot of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Sandra said she had to jump on late. Will there be another session? For those of you who got on late, hopefully the recording works. It says it's still recording. So there should be a replay for this that you can watch again. Nancy says, will we be able to access the recording? Yeah, same.
What about these questions that are sitting there?
Same comment. And Gene says, is there live assist access with FAFSA assist? Is it a yearly fee? So if you use our program, we cover the cost of FAFSA assist, and there is not a renewal fee. If you do just buy it directly, then there is a renewal fee, and then you can upgrade to get additional live assistance and stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, and you can add students at a discount as well.
Yeah. So. All right. Perfect. All right. Anonymous questions coming in here. Which type of loans do not require a FAFSA form filled out? That would be like your private loans, right?
Private loans. Yeah.
Yep. Who applies for the credit card, the student or the parent? I asked because you mentioned the parent receives the monthly bill, so it sounds like the parent is the one applying for the credit card.
Well, they're securing the card, so they're responsible, but the student is going to be the borrower. Yeah, and they're going to run it. I mean, they're going to set the limits and stuff. So, parent takes it out, but it's in the student's name. They just call the credit card company your favorite one, and they'll set it up for you.
All right, cool. Can other relatives other than parents qualify and take a plus loan if the parent wouldn't qualify for instance? No, we already answered that, unfortunately. What if you have the money to pay for all 4 years in your assets? Should you take a loan and defer the payments for 5 years? Keep your money for those 5 years. I would absolutely say yes. If you're compounding interest on your money and you can use somebody else's money at a lower rate, might as well keep your money continuing to compound for another 4 years, right, Stuart?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. If you have the ability to do that, that's really the first strategy. Was strictly that for people with fairly secure or old enough that they would not live long enough to pay the loans off. Well, then the rules started changing, and so now everybody can do that to an extent. It's just, and by extent, I just like if you can afford everything and not pay, and then get a repayment. Let's say mom or dad, whoever's making the least, you can get one of these. After you consolidate and stuff, you can pay less. And eventually the loan will be forgiven in 20 years. Like I said, if you're paying, if college is $75,000, you're paying over $6,000 a month for 48 months. Think about not paying that, let your money grow, and then pay $500 a month.
Yeah.
But find out if that's going to work for you, Yeah. So,
very powerful.
That's a big difference.
Yeah. Very powerful.
Because that money's still going to grow, and you're paying $500, and you've already accumulated, I don't know, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 by that point. Yeah. I mean, that's so. The original strategy was for people who really could pay it, and now we've got this double consolidation, which now opens up all the repayment options for everybody else.
Yeah. Yep, that's good. Another question from Anonymous says, what does the credit score have to do with qualifying for the plus loan? You did talk about all the qualifications of those who do qualify for the plus loans. That was in the presentation. You can watch the replay, watch that part again. And then it says, what was that?
It's not onerous to get a plus loan. I mean,
No, you don't have to have stellar credit.
no. I think 650, 660 will get you a plus loan.
Yeah. And then there's no credit related qualifications for the consolidation. We talked about that, right?
No.
Okay.
Not this
All right.
time.
All right. Another question from Megan says, my wife's aha was, if I die, she doesn't owe anything.
That's nice. That's nice.
True love. I'm just kidding. That's great. All right. I think those were the questions. Thank you. I don't qualify for FAFSA. I got nothing. What loan should I? Okay. Another question. I don't qualify for FAFSA. I got nothing. What loan should I go for, as I need to get a loan to pay? That would be the plus loan, right?
I would, without knowing the person, it's hard. I can't really say, but I think that, plus loan's a good option. It's a good option. It's a very good option.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what I can say.
Yeah. And you can always watch the replay, to catch the pros and cons, of all that kind of stuff again. So awesome. Well, everyone give Stuart another good wave. Goodbye. And thanks for being on. It was very helpful. We all loved it. I know it was great information and we appreciate your time. The feedback was great. Thanks to all you for your feedback and for your comments. It was also very helpful. And I hope you got a lot out of it. And assuming technology does us right, we'll get this recording downloaded and sent out to everyone so you can show it to a spouse if you want, or you could share it with friends, family, anybody that you know that could benefit from it. I think this is something that would be very beneficial. This is the kind of stuff that we include in our Wealth Mastery program. So the recording and the replay will be available for a limited time. And then those who are part of our Wealth Mastery program, of course, will have unlimited access to this kind of stuff. So for those of you who have younger kids and you want to maybe watch this kind of training as it gets closer and a little bit more relevant as the years go on, this is the kind of stuff that we like to keep in our library of valuable trainings and information so that we can guide you through the college funding process. So I hope this was helpful, and I'm glad that you were on here with us tonight. And thanks again, Stuart, for joining us. And I guess, Stuart, you are the host, so I guess you will need to end the recording. Or I guess I could.
I can do it.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right. See ya.